Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, convenient installation options, and the best selection of Vredestein tires. Go to TireRack.com to see their Vredestein test results, tire ratings, and reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox is coming to Hulu. In 2007, Amanda Knox was studying abroad in Italy. She had no idea her dream would turn into a nightmare. Inspired by the actual events of her wrongful conviction and 15-year fight for freedom, watch the new Hulu original series, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, on August 20th. Streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Thanks for listening to the Red Treehouse, where I tell scary stories to keep you up at night. You can listen to the Red Treehouse on your favorite streaming platforms. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. Oh, and leave a 5-star review. And now, you can find the Red Treehouse on Patreon. Join the Red Treehouse community for as little as $3 per month and receive exclusive member benefits. Simply go to patreon.com/Red Treehouse. Important note: sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. The Red Treehouse is dedicated to my dad. I love you, Pop. Here's something you likely don't know about me. I love going to museums. It doesn't really matter the type. There's something about the connection between the past and the present that really interests me. Among my favorites are art museums. And having grown up in and around New York City, and now living just a few hours from Washington, D.C., I grew up with some of the best art museums close by. Here's something else you likely don't know about me. Certain types of paintings really creep me out, and they all involve faces. I know what you're thinking. Lots of paintings involve faces. And you're right. And those paintings almost always make me uneasy. There's something about the facial expressions, the slight smirks on the face, and the eyes following you. All of it just leaves me unsettled. In this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're going to explore 3 allegedly cursed and haunted paintings, all of which involve faces. Are these works of art really hiding something sinister underneath? I'll share the stories. You decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Welcome to the Red Treehouse. Stories about haunted and cursed objects have persisted for centuries. The objects, dolls, amulets, jewelry, artwork, vary as much as the cultures and contexts of those who hold these beliefs. And this says nothing about allegedly haunted houses, buildings, or people. To this point, we've explored several of the most famous haunted dolls: Robert, Peggy, and Annabelle, along with a handful of allegedly cursed paintings. And while we've explored the what surrounding these objects, we've yet to consider the how behind these hauntings. How does a spirit attach itself to an object? According to the Paranormal Academy out of the UK, there are two primary ways for a spirit to attach itself to an object: attraction and energy. A spirit may be attracted to an object for similar reasons we might be drawn to it: its color, shape, or aesthetic value. A spirit may also become attached to the energy of the person who owns the object, perhaps a family heirloom, or item of great significance to a specific person. It's also possible the spirit can become attached to an object if the person using it was emotional while doing so. For example, a person who used a specific tool when angry may attract an angry spirit. Something interesting: an inanimate object technically cannot be haunted because it doesn't have a soul. So how can a spirit attach itself to an object and that object not be haunted? As best I understand it, haunted objects aren't possessed by a spirit. Instead, the object is a conduit. Let me ask a question. What comes to mind when you think of a haunted house? Obviously, a ghost or spiritual force. But what makes us think the house is haunted? Weird supernatural or paranormal phenomena. Strange noises like knocking or scratching or footsteps. Odd sensations like temperature fluctuations. Lights flickering on and off, and objects moving on their own. So in the technical sense, an object cannot be haunted by virtue of it being soulless, but an inanimate object can be used by a spirit to reveal its presence. And depending on the object itself and its history, the spirit may be attracted to its energy. Like most aspects of the paranormal, haunted objects are mysterious and fascinating. And though there is much we understand, there is significantly more that we don't. But it seems like we can apply whatever understanding we do have to allegedly haunted and cursed paintings. Our first haunted painting is entitled "I Can't Be a Bride Anymore" by Yuko Tatsushima. The painting is equally beautiful and haunting. It's a work of art that sinks deeper and deeper into your psyche the longer you look at it. The artwork itself is easy to describe. It depicts a woman standing, or perhaps floating, against a red and black background. The woman is wearing a white dress, with a large belt around her waist, and the front of the dress is open, revealing her cleavage. The woman's genital area is painted red, signifying blood. And perhaps the most startling is the woman's neck, which is elongated, and the face, which features a toothy smile and wide round eyes which appear to be staring into the distance. As a Hispanic man, my cultural knowledge and expertise of Japanese culture and art is woefully insufficient to speak to the deeper meaning of the painting. But while researching, I found an article which offered helpful insight into Tatsushima's painting. I'll quote a small section of the article and place the link in the show notes. Quote, "Many works portraying distinct societal struggles and griefs of women were influenced by frustrations Tatsushima experienced in Japan. The work, I Can't Be a Bride Anymore, referencing the taboo of premarital sex in her society. Any sexual relations, consensual or not, were highly stigmatized. Women were considered impure and felt as if they weren't able to find a spouse. Victims of sexual assault were made to feel as if they were at fault, left with feelings of shame and anguish. The haunting expression of the lone figure, as well as the blood rendered at her crotch area, tinged by the outwardly haphazard strokes and textures, convey their raw misery and isolation." End quote. It's obvious Yuko Tatsushima's work has deep meaning, both personal and societal. But there's something interesting. Yuko Tatsushima's painting first appeared alongside a Japanese urban legend called Tamino's Hell, which is allegedly a cursed poem. According to the lore, reading the poem out loud causes tragedy and possibly death, and so it is strongly advised that you read the poem in your head. It was first published in a 1919 poetry collection entitled Seiken, or Gold Dust. I'm going to read Tamino's Hell for you to follow along. Elder sister vomits blood. Younger sister's breathing fire, while sweet little Tamino just spits up the jewels. All alone does Tamino go falling into that hell, a hell of utter darkness, without even flowers. Is Tamino's big sister the one who whips him? The purpose of the scourging hangs dark in his mind, lashing and thrashing him, but never quite shattering. One sure path to Avicii, the eternal hell. Into that blackest of hells guide him now, I pray. To the golden sheep, to the nightingale. How much did he put in that leather pouch to prepare for his trek to the eternal hell? Spring is coming to the valley, to the wood, to the spiraling chasms of the blackest hell. The nightingale in her cage, the sheep aboard the wagon, and tears well up in the eyes of sweet little Tamino. Sing, O nightingale, in the vast misty forest. He screams he only misses his little sister. His wailing desperation echoes throughout hell. A fox peony opens its golden petals. Down past the 7 mountains and 7 rivers of hell, the solitary journey of sweet little Tamino. If in this hell they be found, may they then come to me, please, those sharp spikes of punishment from Needle Mountain. Not just on some empty whim is flesh pierced with blood-red pins. They serve as hellish signposts for sweet little Tamino. Our second haunted and cursed painting is entitled The Crying Boy by Giovanni Bragolin. Often dubbed the UK's most haunted painting, The Crying Boy by Giovanni Bragolin was popular in the 1950s when it was mass-produced and sold over 50,000 copies in the UK. The painting depicts a young male child, age unknown, staring out with slightly drooped eyes and tears streaming down his cheeks. His hair is tousled and he has a small frown on his face and what appears to be the faint outline of a halo circling above his head. At first glance, it's an interesting painting to hang in your house. But when you consider Bragolin sold the paintings as a reminder of the orphans of World War II, it makes more sense. The powerful backstory was compelling, and copies of The Crying Boy sold like wildfire. Fast forward nearly 30 years to September 1985, when The Sun, a popular British newspaper, printed an article entitled Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy. The story alleged that Ron and Mary Hall, quote, lost their home to a fire when a frying pan burst into flames, end quote. The entire house was destroyed, except for one item, a print of the crying boy. There's something else. Ron Hall's brother was a firefighter who claimed he'd seen this situation before. A house being utterly destroyed by fire, with only a copy of the painting remaining intact. Within a day or so of The Sun running the article, a hysteria swept through the UK, with hundreds of people claiming they'd been affected by the painting. Some folks claimed they could not light the painting on fire, that when they tried to burn and destroy the prints, nothing happened. Others claimed restaurants burned down because they hung the painting on the wall. Still others claimed the painting caused the death of family members. Alarmed by the growing hysteria, The Sun told readers to send in their prints, and they would destroy them. And on Halloween night 1985, staff members burned more than 2,500 copies of the painting. Of course, various theories arose as to the origins of the cursed painting, with some claiming the young boy had died in a mysterious fire, and that his spirit was trapped inside the painting. The connection to the spate of house and business fires made sense then. Another theory suggests the boy was an orphan living in Madrid, and quote, despite a priest's warning that fires broke out wherever the boy went, the artist decided to adopt the child. Sometime later, the artist's studio burned down. The little boy ran away, never to be seen again." End quote. After the mass burning in 1985, the hysteria died down quickly, but it didn't extinguish the legend entirely. Here's something to think about. If the painting was a portrait of a real person, then it's possible he is still alive today, living somewhere and going about his business, perhaps entirely unaware of the legend. Or maybe he's still alive and is fully aware of the curse. Our final haunted and cursed painting is entitled Pogo the Clown and was painted by none other than John Wayne Gacy. If any painting could be described as cursed or haunted, Pogo the Clown would be the most likely candidate, because the artist, John Wayne Gacy, was a real-life, flesh-and-blood monster. One of the worst and most notorious serial killers in history, John Wayne Gacy would often perform as Pogo the Clown during the day and murder young men and boys at night. In total, Gacy killed at least 33 victims over 6 years while masquerading as a decent man and member of society. The painting itself is eerie and features a self-portrait of Gacy dressed as Pogo the Clown. His left hand is up, as if waving at unseen children, and his right hand is holding a bunch of colorful balloons. Pine trees linger in the background. Perhaps the most chilling aspects of the painting are the eyes and mouth. The lips are blended into a wide mouth painted red. A small toothy sneer peeks out from behind the parted lips. And the eyes, blue triangles point upwards towards the forehead, with the eyes gazing downwards, distant looking. Something fascinating. Gacy painted and signed Pogo the Clown while in prison, and in 2001, it was sold to musician Nicky Stone for $3,000. Soon after the purchase, his beloved dog died, and his mother was diagnosed with cancer. Believing the painting contributed to these tragedies, Stone gave the painting to a friend, at the friend's request. But within a short time, the friend's neighbor died in a car accident. The painting was then passed to another friend, who later attempted suicide sometime after. In 2020, Zach Bagans purchased the painting, along with several of John Wayne Gacy's personal belongings, to display in his haunted museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. According to a Newsweek article, Bagans purchased letters from Gacy's stepdaughter, additional paintings, pictures, and the last pack of cigarettes he smoked prior to his execution in May 1994. It seems the cursed painting is under control. For now. I'll confess, the jury is still out on whether or not I believe in haunted paintings, or even haunted objects. It's not that I don't think it's possible. It's that it feels complicated to ascribe certain events to a spirit attached to an inanimate object. Here's what I mean. If I go to a thrift or antique store, I can find any number of paintings, dolls, and heirlooms for purchase. Let's say I buy a portrait because it will go great in my hallway. And then a week or two later, my whole family comes down with a stomach bug. Is it because we had a stroke of bad luck? Maybe had something bad to eat, or caught something while outside? Or are we somehow being afflicted by a spirit attached to the portrait? I realize that sounds cynical and judgmental. That's not my intent. But it is to say that while I do believe certain objects can be considered haunted, I'm not sure if I believe those objects are the catalyst for bad things happening to people. I realize I may be a slight hypocrite here though, because there's no way I'm gonna fuck around with the Dybbuk box, or Annabelle, and if I had a chance to see Robert the doll in person, I would absolutely be respectful, and forget about looking at Peggy the doll in the eyes. Why? Because you just don't know, and that's the fun and fear of this whole thing. As we close this episode of the Red Treehouse, we're left with this lingering question. Are these works of art really hiding something sinister and evil underneath? I've shared the stories. Now you decide for yourself. I'm your host, Will. Thanks for joining me in the Red Treehouse.